Hi, I'm Juan Rivera. I've had over 20 years of residential and commercial construction experience. I've traveled the world and lived around the U.S. Over the years, I've seen and completed many projects both small and large. I'm the owner of Renaissance Development Group, Inc., a full-service construction company, and I know remodeling. Each week, I'll bring you the tips, tricks, and trends of home remodeling and improvement. We'll talk to local contractors and industry experts about the latest new trends for your home and remodeling projects. We'll show you the ins and the outs to make your project easier. So join us for the next 30 minutes on Remodeling Now. Welcome to another episode of Remodeling Now. On today's episode, Darrell and I are going to explain to you how we manufacture and build shutters. So stay tuned from a word from our sponsors. Now, Darrell, I see you've been able to make me a cross-section here.
Yes, I did.
Okay, and this cross-section is just two pieces. Of course, you've got it cut, which would represent a section, so to speak, of somebody looking at this. And it's two pieces. This is a tenon.
Yes.
And of course, we've got the mortise here as well. So this slides right in. So that way it fits in nice and tight, and we have a smooth edge on that. And of course, we would adjust this depending on whenever we put it together.
Yep.
Okay, so that's something I can have in my office and that we can, or the conference room, we can show our clients.
Yes.
And I'll take this to show our client that we've got that we're doing the shutters from. Now, we've got a couple different styles here that we're gonna be showing. What do we got here?
We got a two-panel style here. We've got a double style. We've got a style in the middle, which divides the panels.
Okay. And this is just, again, our typical standard routered panel edge look.
Yes, it is.
And then, of course, we have it's kind of like an OG style here.
It is.
And, of course, it's grooved to allow the panels to go in.
Yes.
Okay. And then, as well, we've got another style, just a little bit different, but not totally different. And this is
That's just a single panel style.
Okay, so now our client is, from what I understand, just wanted to have just a couple samples made. They're pretty much have made their minds up down to two different styles, and so that's the reason why we've made two different styles.
That's exactly right.
Okay, well, let's show how we've done this now. All right, now, when we start this, we start with what?
Just a raw piece of wood, basically. We just have a piece of wood. It's 1.5 inches thick. And what we do is we have to mill this down to make our styles.
Okay, so now we run this through a planer.
Yes.
You get the thickness of it. And what's the thickness of this, our rails here?
It's 1.25 inches.
1.25 inches. Now, this is 1.5 inches, so that means you got to take off a 1/4 inch.
Yes.
And then you'll plane one side, then flip it over and plane the other. Now, this is a little better quality of wood. What kind of wood is this?
That's southern yellow pine.
And it is a select?
It's a select grade. Okay. Very, very few knots. If there's knots, they're just really small knots.
Okay, select grade, that's exactly what it means, that it has little to no knots where that's concerned there, okay? Now, you would take this, and then, of course, we want to make something that turns out like this. So we've got our 1.25 inches here that you talked about. And then when we roll this over, you see here the profile that we get from the bit. And then, of course, you see the groove on the inside.
Yeah, that's where the panel slides into and locks in.
Very good. So now we're going to go ahead and demonstrate how we do that. So let's go on. Now, what tool do we have that we use this with?
We use it on our router.
Okay. And we have certain bits for that we use?
Yes, we do. This right here is the bit that we use for making our panel.
Okay, so this is the panel bit here. Now, and of course, if we've got again, a sample of a panel here. So if we took and we had this in the router, you would see how the groove gets there and how it cuts right to that as well.
Yes.
Okay, so that takes care of that. And I notice now this is a very thick shank here.
It's a 1/2 inch shank.
Okay, now most homeowners are not going to probably have a router this heavy.
No, they have a 1/4 inch shank.
Okay, but they can buy these with no problem.
Yes, they can.
But these are yet expensive, are they not?
Yes, they are.
This is about what, $75,
So
something like
about
that?
$75, $80 bit.
And then this one?
Those are our OG bits. This is what we use to cut the groove in and make our OG in our panel side.
Okay.
We have that right here. And there's two different bits. One makes the cut for making this one right here, which is this one. Mm-hmm. It makes the cut on this. Okay. Where it cuts it in.
So that's the tenon.
Yes.
The mortise and the tenon there.
And then the other one goes through and it makes the cut where it cuts out the groove for the panel. Mm-hmm. It makes our OG profile on the profile face.
Okay. And again, these also are a 1/2 inch shank on these as well? Are. Okay. And again, something that a homeowner is typically not going to have in their arsenal of bits. because these are expensive as well.
Exactly.
And these are almost $100 a piece.
Yes, they are.
Okay. So now we use a Bosch brand. We also like Freud or Freed, depending on whoever's saying it. And of course, different types of name brands, different qualities, and really just as a personal preference.
Yes.
Okay. So now, from here, what do we do next?
Well, we need to get set up on the router.
Okay.
In order to demonstrate how we do our tenon and mortise.
Okay. Very good. Let's do that.
All right.
All right. So we've got our router table over here.
Yes, we do.
Okay. So we slide that back. Now, always thinking of safety whenever we deal with equipment, stuff like this.
We always unplug the equipment before we start trying
Exactly
to assemble
right.
anything in it.
If that thing ever turns on when your finger around it, you're done. I have an example of that injury. A couple months ago, I almost cut my
Yes.
thumb off. So we want to be real careful with that. Okay. So we put that's our shank.
And we have what we call a collet, which locks this in. So what we do is we take this and we push it all the way down in.
Okay.
And then we raise it up
Just a hair.
approximately an eighth of an inch.
Okay.
And we hand tighten it down. We lock our 2 wrenches on. And just tighten it. And you don't have to over tighten it. Just get it good and snug.
So you just get it snug and get a last little
Yes.
pinch on it, so to speak, and that gets it real tight there.
Yes.
And on this particular router, we've got a handle here which allows us to get this down where we need it to be. Okay, so we can crank that down, get this on, and then we line up and we're pretty much ready to go.
Yes.
All right, very good. Okay. Now, Darrell, in order to make sure this cuts the second piece or another piece the same, we want to take a piece that's already done and do what's called a dry fit.
Yes. Just
Okay.
lining it up.
So you line it up, which seems to be right there, and then we take our fence and we get that straight and get everything lined up accordingly, and we're against the back there, about like that, right? Is that good?
That looks good.
All right, and then we screw down our
The lockdown's on the fence.
on each side, and then we're good to go. All right, cool beans. All right, so then now we get our piece of wood, and
Yes.
you're ready to router.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Now, as our viewers can see here, you just took this piece which would look like this to begin with, and you stuck it in, and now that you've run it through that router, you see the profile that we've got, and it matches the other ones.
Yes, it does.
So it will be the same reveal on the top and the same thickness, so when we put our panel in, we have no issues.
It'll fit right in.
All right, very good. Welcome back, and if you're just joining us, we were just demonstrating how we change out the different bits in our router, and that Darrell's getting ready to router this piece of wood here, this 1x12, and show you how we put panelized cut to it. So, Darrell, you got this panel cut put on. Looks nice and neat. Got all the edges looking the same, nice sharp corners. So now we're ready to assemble.
Great.
Okay, let's go over here. Okay. Now, Darrell, I see you've got a 90-degree angle, 2 rods here that you put here, 2 rails, I should say. And the purpose of this is for?
That ensures wherever we're making, we know that it's going to be square.
Okay. So now what we've got here is we've got one rail there, and we've got a top and a bottom. And we just go ahead and slide these right in place, and then they go in with no problem. Okay? And then we go ahead and take the panel and we slide in, see it fits right into the groove here. Okay, and that's nice and tight there. And then we take this last piece, stick it in here. And get it, and of course then we take the rubber mallet and then we adjust our hit so to make sure that we're smooth there, there. And of course we're down here now. This one, as you can see here, needs to be adjusted because that's too far in. So we take and go ahead and tap that in like that. And then we tap this over and then we're smooth all the way through. Okay, now this is what we call our dry fit.
Yes.
Okay, now that we know this all goes together well, we take it apart and what's our next step?
We're going to glue it and nail it and use brad gum.
Very good, let's do that. Okay, there's various different types of glue. There's Elmer's glue, there's Tight Bond, there's Gorilla. There's, again, that goes with bits. You can have any particular style, or not style, but any type of brand name that you like for your glue. This particular one is Tight Bond. You can pick this up at Lowe's, or in our case, one of our favorite spots to get it would be Hometown Lumber. So now we take this glue and we stick it in here. Now the thing about gluing is we do not glue the whole thing all the way down.
No, we don't.
Why is that?
Because the panel needs to float for expansion and contraction.
Exactly. So we just go ahead and put it at each of our ends here, and we put a generous amount because we can always wipe out any excesses that we have. Then we go ahead and again stick in. Now this is going to get a little glue's going to come out on the sides, which is not a big deal. Okay. Then we can take this and slide straight on down. Okay. Wait, I'm not in all the way here yet. Okay, there we go. And then we take our rail, hold it like this, and then we get our glue bottle again and we put a little bit right here. Set that back down there, and then we take and roll this over on here. Voila. Now we set this back down, get it into our, now this one here we want to tap it down, so now we are square. Okay, and I'm good, I've got a good tight fit all the way down here.
And just need to bring this bottom up a little.
You flush there,
Yes.
and we're flush there. And again, we are good here as well. Okay, so now we take some clamps and we tighten them up. And that locks it in place. And really, when this glue dries, this is going to be pretty much impossible to break.
Yes.
I mean, it's amazing how that little bit of glue, and of course we put a lot, but even when it bonds and how it bonds, it's amazing how the strength that it has.
It does. It penetrates the fibers of the wood and just gets inside it.
Exactly. Okay, so now we roll this over, correct?
Yes.
And then now you are ready to go ahead and brad nail this a little bit here. Okay? And so what you do is show, where do you brad nail this at?
You want to brad nail it on the side of the stile so it gets in, and you want to get into that tenon right there.
Okay, now that we've got the brads in here, we can rotate this back around again and take the clamps off. Set those underneath. And we can see no brads came through the tops.
Nope.
So we can roll this back over and feel and see if we need to set anything. Now obviously here, we've got some down here that we need to set. And they're high up. Obviously we want to make sure we get those all taken care of. So we set them just enough to get them where they're flush or just slightly in. We got a few over here, it looks like. And how about those down there?
We've got one here.
Okay. And that's nice and smooth and good to go. Okay, now the next step would be to sand it down.
Yes.
Okay. And so we would just go ahead and start right here. So we'd sand all these down, make sure that we're nice and smooth, fill in the gaps, which these all look pretty good, so the sanding would take care of that. And then we roll these back over. And the same thing if we're a little bit high over here. So now we'll show how we do that. Okay, now what we've got is we've got a DeWalt belt sander, which is one of my favorite tools, obviously. And what we're going to go through and knock down these edges that are just a hair high. And doing it with a belt sander, it takes it down real quick. But you got to be careful doing it because you don't want to put any grooves or any lines when you sand. And we'll show you how not to do that. Now what I did was, when I had the sander over here, I had it going back and forth, and then I had it going at an angle slightly. And what that does is it goes across and then back across this way as well. And what it does, it makes for a very smooth sanding surface going all the way around with both grains. Because sometimes when you're sanding against the grain, you have a tendency to leave lines, and we always want to make sure that we don't do that. In this case, as you can see, fine finished product right here. Let's turn it around. Nice and smooth. All right. So now we've got that taken care of. We flip it over, and we're going to do the same thing to the back side. Just, even though with shutters, they're mostly always in an open position with the nice side looking out. So in other words, when you have the shutter out, whenever you see it on houses, you always see the profile that is the prettiest one, which is obviously where the raised panel look is. But when this closes, it closes like this, so then the back side becomes exposed whenever the shutters are closed. You also want to make sure that you always have that sanded down as well, because regardless of what side is out, you always want to have a nice finished product. Nice, smooth.
Okay.
Beautiful. Okay, now with that, this shutter's complete.
Yes, it is.
So now it would match it with its mate, obviously. Shutters usually come in sets of two, although sometimes they also have just one because there's one single window. Most windows always accept two. So now in this particular case, we've got different styles of brackets and closing mechanisms that our client will choose from, and based on what his choices of those, we will install those on those. So we have a single panel shutter complete.
Yes, we do.
Okay, so now that we've got this one complete, we also have the two panel.
Yes, we do.
So let's set this one off to the side. And as you can see here, we've got our two panel, same thing. The only difference was that was a single panel. This is a two panel. We've actually added a centerpiece. Same processes, same techniques, same bits. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the names of the steps. Sand it, brad it, nail it, finish it, and when you've got all that done, all you have to do is just paint it, install the hardware, and hang the product. And on next week's episode, join us, and we're going to show you how to build and replicate historical windows. So for now, thank you, and we'll see you next week.